everyone, welcome back to the C programming tutorials. These tutorials are brought to you by Zeedup technologies. In this video, we are going to see the usage of the if-else statements in C. If-else statements are known as the conditional statements. They are used to evaluate a condition, and if it evaluates to be true, a set of statements are executed, and if the condition evaluates to be false, then another set of statements are executed. So this is a simple definition of if-else statements, that they are known as the conditional statements. We are going to see its practical application right now. So first of all, we will be seeing all about the if statements. So I'm just going to comment that we are going to see if statements, so that I'm able to identify later on if I look at my code that what we are going to do. So first of all, the syntax of the if statement is simple. You need to just write this keyword if, and then within the parenthesis you need to specify a condition. So the condition that I'm going to specify is if 2 is greater than 3. So this is my condition. I want to check that whether 2 is greater than 3 or not. So the condition is false because we know 2 is not greater than 3, 2 is less than 3. Then I'm going to specify within the braces, that is within the body of if, what do I need to do if this condition evaluates to true. So I'm going to use a simple printf statement, and I'm going to write true condition. Simple. Okay, now let us just build this code. So you can just go to this cork sign for building it, and then once it's built, you can just go with run. So you are seeing that you are not getting any output. The reason why, because this condition is false, so this statement is not executed. What if we provided any condition that is true? Suppose instead of 2 we provided it with 5, that if 5 is greater than 3, then what happens? You need to build it again, and then you can run it, true condition. So this is what we have got as an output, that it recognizes the condition to be true. Now this is a simple if statement. We have another set of statements known as the if-else statements. If-else statements handle both the true conditions and the false conditions. Right now we just handled or provided code for the true conditions with if. Suppose we write again the condition that we use first, that if 2 is greater than 3, then if it is true we need to print something such as using a printf statement, true condition. Otherwise, if this condition is false, then we need to print false condition. So for that purpose we have something known as else. You need to write the keyword else like this, just as you wrote if, and after if you are supposed to provide a condition. But with the else statement, there is no need to provide a condition, because else works only when the condition of the if statements evaluates to be false. So you can just simply use these braces, and you can just write a printf statement containing the message false condition like this, and then you need to close it with the help of the semicolon. And then you can just what I'm going to do right now is actually I'm going to comment out this piece of code as well. So select those lines which you want to comment, go to edit, and you can just go to this comment option or use the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+C in the code blocks IDE. Because I do not want this condition to be evaluated, I only want if-else statements to be evaluated. So if we just build it once again using the cork sign, and once it's built we can just run it, then what we get? False condition, because 2 is not greater than 3, so we have got false condition. This is the simple usage of the if-else statements in C. Now let us actually evaluate its usage with the help of an example. So for that purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just clear up all this piece of code, and I'm going to use an example in which what I'm going to do is I'm going to check whether a number is even or odd. Whether a number is even or odd. So we know that if a number is divisible by 2, it is considered as even, otherwise the number is considered as odd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare an integer variable n, which is going to be initialized with 0, and then I'm going to accept a user entry, that is the user will enter a number to check that whether it is even or not. So first of all, I'm going to print a message to the user that enter a number to check. Okay, this is the message that I'm going to give to the user, and \n over here will make sure that whatever the user enters goes on in the next line. Then using the scanf, we are actually going to accept the user entry into our variable. Since it is an integer variable, so we are going to specify mod d over here and then put a comma and then accept it directly into the address of variable n. So this is the user entry part. Now we are going to check for the value of n, that if n mod 2 is double equals to 0. So let us explain this condition, and this is n mod 2, that is if we divide n by 2 and if we get the remainder as 0, which means if the variable n is pointing to a value that is divisible by 2, then what do we need to print? We need to print that the number is even. So we can just simply use printf statement and we would print the value of n, that is mod d is even. And what this mod d is going to hold, it is going to hold the value of n. Else, that is if the divisibility test is failed, or if the number that the user has entered is not divisible by 2, then we need to print that say mod d is odd. And what is mod d? It is nothing but the value of n, and then we can just close this statement with a semicolon. So this is our program to check whether a number is even or odd. So to make sure that it runs correctly, we first need to build it using this cork sign. Once it is built, what we can do is simply run it. We are supposed to enter a number. So I'm going to check for both the conditions. That is, I'm going to first enter an even number and then an odd number. So I'm going to enter 18. This is an even number, and as soon as I press enter, I get the output 18 is even. Then I'm just going to close it and run it again. No need to build it because we have not made any changes to our program. We can simply enter a number, say 13, and we get 13 is odd. So this is a very simple example of the if-else statement through which you can check a number is even or odd. Another example that you can take up while writing this type of code is to check whether a number is positive or negative. So for that purpose, we can just make some changes over here only. So our comment is going to be check whether a number is positive or negative. So it is going to be again a user entry, and then these three statements are going to be same. Instead of this condition, we are going to check that if n is greater than or equal to 0, then we are going to get that mod d is positive, and this mod d is nothing but the value of n. Otherwise, I'm going to give the message that mod d is negative. Now mod d is again the value of n. So simple, we are going to accept the user entry for a number n, which is right now initialized by 0, and we are going to check whether n is greater than or equal to 0. If it is, then it is going to be a positive number, otherwise it is going to be a negative number. Now we need to build it again with the help of the cork sign, and then we can simply run this code, enter a number to check. So -9 is what I have entered. -9 is negative, that's correct. Again we can run it, no need to build this time. 80 is positive. Now what happens if we enter 0? So let's enter 0. 0 is positive, that's what we are getting. Why? Because here in this condition we have entered that if n is greater than or if n is equals to 0, then we are going to get the message that n is positive. So 0 is also treated as a positive integer over here, but this is actually not correct. So how can we rectify this issue? This we will see in the next video, in which we will be working with multiple if-else statements at once. This is all for this video. Thanks for watching.